I used to count the days between the times Sabrina touched me. I don't mean a quick kiss on the cheek or the occasional brush of her hand when we passed each other in the hallway. I mean touched me, like I was a man she desired, not just a fixture in the house. At first it was 4 days, then it became 10, then I stopped counting. Not because I stopped caring, but because it hurt too damn much to keep track. There's something humiliating about marking your own rejection on a mental calendar, watching the space between her and you stretch longer and colder, like a widening crack in the foundation of your home. And still, I tried. God, I tried. I told myself it was stress. I told myself she was tired. I told myself marriage wasn't always supposed to feel electric, and maybe this was just one of those dry spells people joked about on sitcoms. Only, no one tells you that dry spells feel like slow deaths. We were lying in bed one night, and I reached out. Just a simple thing. My hand slid across the sheets and found her waist. She tensed slightly, not enough to make a scene, just enough for me to feel it. I froze, waited. She didn't lean back into me. She didn't say anything at all, so I whispered, "You okay?" She sighed, not tired, not sad, annoyed. "I'm fine," she muttered, not looking at me. "Just not in the mood." She didn't have to say it anymore. I knew the script. I pulled my hand back like I'd touched something burning and rolled onto my side, staring at the shadowed ceiling. I heard the faint taps of her fingers as she picked up her phone and started scrolling. The light from the screen lit up her face in that cold blue way that made her eyes look even more distant. "It's not you," she said finally without glancing over. "My libido's just gone. Seriously. I don't know what's wrong with me." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her, because the alternative, that she just didn't want me anymore, that was unbearable. So I did what a good husband is supposed to do. I nodded, offered her comfort, suggested she see someone. "Hormones," she said, brushing it off. "It's probably just hormones, or stress. Work's been insane lately. I barely have time to breathe, let alone think about that. As if intimacy with me had become a chore on her to-do list, filed somewhere between folding laundry and meal prep. "I get it," I said softly. "We can take our time." And I meant it. I wasn't some brute who thought closeness was a right, not a gift. I loved this woman. I would have waited forever if she were waiting with me. But the truth? Sabrina wasn't waiting. She was already gone. Not physically, no. Her body was still next to me in that bed. Her perfume was still in the pillow. But the woman I'd fallen in love with, the one who used to kiss my neck while I was shaving just to make me laugh, she had disappeared. And in her place was a stranger who looked at me like I was furniture. And maybe I could have survived that. Maybe I could have kept telling myself this was a phase. Temporary. Fixable. But there was one thing I couldn't ignore. One thing that didn't match the story I was being fed. That night, as I turned away from her and stared at the moonlight through the blinds, I heard her giggle softly, just once, like a tiny spark in a dead room. I turned slightly and saw her smiling at something on her phone. Her eyes weren't empty then. They were alive, amused, warm, almost glowing. And in that moment, a single quiet thought pierced through the fog of excuses in my mind. If her desire is dead, why is she still laughing like that? Sabrina had always been a little guarded. It was one of the things I'd found intriguing about her. She wasn't the kind of woman who spilled every thought the moment she had it. She kept her cards close, eyes sharp, and words precise. But over the years, I had learned to read her silences. I knew her moods, her tells, her rhythms, and now I was lost. It's strange. You can sleep next to someone for years and still wake up one morning feeling like you're lying beside a stranger. She started spending more time on her phone. Nothing unusual about that. Everyone lives on their screens now, but it was how she used it. She'd tilt it away from me. She'd step out of the room to take calls. Her thumbs would move quickly, urgently, then stop if I walked in. One night I asked, gently, "Everything okay?" She didn't look up from the screen. "Yeah, why?" "I don't know," I said. "You seem distant." Now she looked at me, only for a second, and smiled, like I was being sweetly ridiculous. "Caleb, come on. I'm just tired. Don't overthink things." I let it go, like a coward, because some part of me was terrified of what I might find if I pressed harder. But the space between us kept growing. She started going out more. Girls' night became a regular thing, then a weekly ritual. At first I was glad. I wanted her to feel happy, balanced, connected. God knows I wanted her to come home with a smile. Sometimes she did, but not the kind she used to give me. I remember one Friday evening, she was getting dressed to go out. She put on a black blouse I hadn't seen before, form-fitting, low-cut, the kind of top she used to wear for me on date nights. I stood by the door, watching as she applied lipstick. "You look—" "Wow," I said. "Who's all going?" She smirked at the mirror. "Just Tessa and the usual crew." "Mind if I join?" I asked, half joking, half pleading. She laughed. "It's girls' night, Caleb. You'd be bored out of your mind." She kissed my cheek, cool, quick, and left before I could say anything else. The door shut. The silence in the house returned like a ghost slipping in behind her. I sat on the couch, phone in hand, trying not to picture where she was going, who she was really meeting, what that smile was for. But I still held on. I told myself, don't be paranoid. Don't become that guy. She said her desire's gone, not just for you, for everything. And I believed it. I needed to believe it. Until one night, I caught a glimpse of a message on her phone. Just a flash. A name. Jay. No last name, no context, just, "You looked amazing last night. Still thinking about it." Sabrina locked the screen immediately, smiled at me like nothing happened. I asked, too casually, "Who's Jay?" She blinked, only a beat too long, then shrugged. "Friend of a friend. He's harmless. Messaged me after Tessa's party trying to flirt. I told him to back off." She didn't sound nervous. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't over-explain, but her eyes didn't match her tone, and something in my chest twisted. She turned back to the TV, acting like the moment had passed, like I was just being overly sensitive again. And maybe I was. Or maybe, just maybe, I had finally seen the first thread unravel. I used to be confident, not arrogant, just steady, the kind of man who knew what he brought to the table. I wasn't a model or a millionaire, but I was reliable, honest, the guy who fixed the sink without being asked, the guy who remembered anniversaries without phone alerts. But lately, I started looking in the mirror and wondering what she saw. Lines near my eyes, a little more weight around the waist, the tired posture of a man who spent more time trying to hold things together than enjoying anything. And I started asking myself questions I never thought I would. Am I not enough? Did I change too much? Did she? There's a particular kind of heartbreak that doesn't come from yelling or slamming doors or dramatic betrayals. It comes from silence, from the way her hand doesn't reach for yours anymore, from how she says good night while already turning away. I tried harder. God help me, I tried harder. One Saturday morning, I made her favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes, fresh coffee, the table set before she even got out of bed. She came down yawning, looked at the food and said, "Oh, thanks," before sitting and scrolling through her phone. No smile, no kiss on the cheek, just thanks. Like I was her roommate who happened to cook. "So," I ventured, trying to keep my voice light, "I was thinking, maybe we could do something just us tonight? Dinner somewhere nice? That place by the lake you love." She didn't even look up. "I have a Zoom thing with the girls. Book club or something." "Oh," I hesitated. "Maybe tomorrow?" "Let's see," she said flatly. "I've been so wiped lately. It's not you, Caleb. I just haven't felt connected to that kind of stuff lately." That kind of stuff. Like we were a category she'd unsubscribed from. I nodded, trying not to look crushed. She didn't notice, or didn't care. I couldn't tell anymore. Later that day, I went for a drive. No destination, just me, the road, and 100 thoughts swirling in my head. I pulled into a gas station and caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked tired, not physically, something deeper, like someone trying to smile while slowly drowning. What did she want that I wasn't? Was it someone younger, funnier, bolder? Someone who didn't ask for closeness, who took it without needing permission? Or was it simpler than that? Maybe she just didn't love me anymore. No big blowout, no cheating, no drama, just decay. But still, that name kept scratching the back of my mind. Jay. I wasn't the jealous type, truly. But ever since that message, it lived in my head like a splinter I couldn't remove. And she never mentioned him again. Never brought up Tessa, or the party, or the message, like it never happened. One night, I brought it up, gently. Hey, so that guy who messaged you, Jay, he hasn't said anything else, has he? She looked up from her laptop, annoyed. Caleb, are you really still on that? I'm not accusing you of anything, I said quickly. It felt weird. The message, that's all. She scoffed and shut the laptop a little too hard. You're being paranoid. He messaged once. I ignored it. End of story. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something in her face, the tightness in her jaw, the way her foot tapped beneath the table, told a different story. Okay, I said quietly. I trust you. But I didn't. Not fully. Not anymore. And that broke me more than I can ever explain. It happened on a Tuesday. Nothing special about that day. The sky was gray, the house was quiet, and Sabrina had left early, saying she was meeting a friend for brunch and then heading to a wellness event downtown. I believed her. I always did, even when I shouldn't have. I was cleaning up the kitchen when I knocked her gym bag off the counter. It hit the floor and half opened, not all the way, just enough to show something that didn't belong. A small, velvet pouch. Burgundy. Fancy. Curious, I picked it up and loosened the drawstring. Inside was a gold necklace. Delicate. Not cheap. I'd never seen it before. And I knew, because I would have remembered. I used to buy her jewelry on anniversaries. I knew what she liked, what she wore, what sat untouched in her box. This piece wasn't from me. My chest tightened. I stared at it like it might answer me. Where did you come from? Who gave you to her? Maybe it was a gift from a friend. Maybe she bought it herself. Maybe. I put it back exactly where I found it and closed the bag, hands trembling. I didn't want to be that guy, the one who checks his wife's things, who becomes a shadow of suspicion. But the seed was already planted, and it was growing fast. That evening, she came home glowing. Not tired, not drained, glowing. Hey, she said breezily, dropping her purse. God, today was so needed. Just relaxing and laughing with the girls. You should do something for yourself soon, babe. You've seemed off. I forced a smile. Glad you had fun. She kissed me lightly, that same half-second brush of lips she'd mastered over the past year, and went upstairs to shower. I sat on the couch, still smiling, nodding, numb. The glow on her face, the necklace in her bag, and suddenly the excuses felt like feathers on top of bricks. I waited until she was asleep, and then I did something I swore I never would. I opened her laptop. I didn't want to dig. I didn't even know what I was looking for. I just needed something. Clarity. Confirmation. Or, if I was lucky, a reason to feel ashamed for doubting her. Her email was open, and there it was. Not a long thread. Not dozens of messages. Just one. Tucked under the promotions tab, where she probably thought no one would check. Subject line, room is booked. Same place as last time. Can't stop thinking about your back. Sent by j.mesomecompany.com. No salutation, no sign-off, no emojis. Just raw, direct familiarity. My heart didn't race. It stopped, froze. I stared at the words, letting them settle in, letting them become real. She booked a room. They've done this before. He thinks about her back, because he's seen it, touched it. Everything inside me twisted. I just closed the laptop and sat in the dark for a long time. The silence in the house pressed down like 100 invisible hands. That was the moment everything broke. Not just trust, not just marriage. Me. Something in me cracked that night. Something deep and quiet and vital. And once it cracked, it never quite fit back the same. I didn't confront her, not then. I needed more. Not more proof, more strength. Because now I knew. The problem was never her low desire. It was me. She just didn't want me. I became a ghost in my own house. Sabrina was still smiling, still texting, still moving through her daily routine with the smooth grace of someone who had no idea I knew. Or maybe she did know. Maybe she just assumed I'd never call her out. That I was too polite, too passive, too afraid of the fallout. She wasn't entirely wrong. At first, I thought I needed evidence. Screenshots, receipts, times, dates. But what I really needed was time. Time to sit with it, to stop making excuses, to grieve the marriage I thought I had. I started watching everything with new eyes. The way she turned her phone face down when she set it on the counter. The sudden importance of Tessa's birthday dinner that somehow required perfume and an Uber. The way she called me babe more often now, almost like a reflex, like she was trying to keep the illusion alive. One night, we were brushing our teeth side by side, just like always. The mirror fogged slightly, and the only sound was the soft hum of the bathroom fan and the faint scrape of bristles. She looked over at me, her mouth full of foam, and said, "You've been quiet lately." I rinsed my mouth. "Have I?" "Yeah, you okay?" I met her eyes in the mirror. For a moment, just a second, I thought about saying it, tearing the curtain down. But I didn't. Instead, I said, "Work's just been rough." She nodded, satisfied with the lie. "I get that. Mine too." She didn't press further. She didn't hug me. Just walked away, humming. And I stood there alone, watching the fog on the mirror slowly fade. Just like us. A few days later, I checked our shared bank account. Not because I suspected anything, just out of habit. We'd always been open about money, no secrets. At least I thought so. There were several charges I didn't recognize. A wine bar in the city neither of us had ever been to. A boutique hotel near downtown. 2 Uber rides, both late at night, both nowhere near Tessa's house. And that was it. That was the moment it became undeniable. Not theoretical, not suspicious, not possible. Real. She was lying to me, again and again, with her words, her smile, her lips, her presence. And the part that gutted me, she was good at it. So good I almost believed her. So good I almost blamed myself. But now I was done making excuses. Something in me shifted, not violently, not dramatically. It was subtle, a stillness, a quiet understanding. I was living in a dead thing, and I didn't want to rot with it. I didn't plan it like a movie. There was no dramatic music, no thunderstorm outside, no glass of whiskey in my hand. It was just a Sunday evening. We had finished dinner. Takeout. Thai. Her choice. She barely touched it, claiming she was too full, though I noticed she spent half the meal texting under the table. She thought I didn't see. We sat in the living room after. The TV was on, some reality show she liked but never watched with real attention. I watched her more than the screen. She laughed at something but it didn't reach her eyes. And that's when I decided. I muted the TV. She looked at me, confused. "What's up?" I stared at her, calm, steady. "I know." She blinked. "Know what?" There it was. That flicker. Too quick for most people to notice. But I'd lived beside that face for years. Her pupils tightened. Her jaw stiffened. And still she said, What are you talking about? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I simply said, I know about Jay, the hotel, the necklace, the emails, the rides, the way you suddenly get dressed up to see Tessa every week, the way you won't touch me but somehow always have energy for those nights. Her lips parted, not in shock, in defense. The brain scrambling to load a lie. Caleb, she started, hands lifting like I was a child she had to calm down. It's not what you think. Please, I said sharply. Don't. I've already heard the excuses, the hormones, the stress, I'm just tired. She looked like she might cry. I didn't care. Do you know how many nights I blame myself? I continued, my voice low. How many times I thought, maybe I'm just not enough anymore. Maybe I changed. Maybe I let myself go. Caleb, it wasn't like that. I cut her off. Then what was it, Sabrina? What do you call sneaking around, lying to my face, pretending like you lost all interest in closeness, when really you just redirected it to someone else? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That silence, that was the truth. You could have told me, I said. You could have left. You could have said, I'm not happy, and we could have tried to fix it, or end it like adults. Tears welled in her eyes now. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't think I thought maybe you didn't even care anymore. I almost laughed. You thought I didn't care? I said, staring straight through her. I was breaking myself in half trying to make you feel loved again. You were everything to me. I felt alone, she whispered. So did I snapped. But I didn't go looking for someone else's arms just because I felt alone. The words hung there, sharp, final. She looked down, ashamed, or maybe just cornered. You've already decided, haven't you? She said. You're leaving. I took a deep breath. I haven't decided anything. You did, the moment you chose him. I stood up, walked toward the hallway, then paused. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight, I said quietly. And tomorrow, we'll talk about how to divide the rest of this life you've already walked out of. And then I left her there, on the couch, in the silence she'd built between us. The guest room smelled like dust and cardboard. I hadn't opened the windows in months. It was the room we kept things we didn't know what to do with. Old blankets, photo albums, winter coats we never wore. Now it was mine. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, the unfamiliar silence buzzing in my ears. The walls were thinner than I remembered. I could hear her crying in the bedroom down the hall, muffled sobs, sharp inhales, a drawer opening, then slamming shut. I didn't move. I didn't comfort her. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty for it. The next morning, we didn't speak. She made coffee. I didn't drink it. I made toast. She didn't eat. We moved around each other like ghosts in a burned-out house. Around noon, I sat her down at the dining table. The same one we used to eat Sunday pancakes at. The same table where she once laughed so hard at one of my dumb impressions that she snorted orange juice out of her nose. Now it was the table where we discussed how to end a marriage. I'll find an apartment, I said. I'll take the couch until I do. She nodded, eyes red, voice gone. We talked logistics, calm, mechanical, like we were discussing a business deal, not the ashes of a shared life. I didn't ask her if she was still seeing him. I didn't care. Something had broken too deeply to be patched. Not just the trust, not just the love. Me. Weeks passed. I moved out, quietly, took only what was mine, left the memories hanging on the walls. The first night in the apartment was harder than I expected, not because I missed her, but because I didn't recognize myself. I sat on a mattress on the floor, surrounded by unopened boxes, and felt like a man who had survived a crash, but couldn't remember who he was before it. Every now and then, I'd think about what she said. I didn't mean for it to happen, as if betrayal was an accident, as if love just slipped and fell into someone else's life. But betrayal isn't a stumble, it's a choice. 1,000 little choices made behind someone's back. And now, I had to make mine. One night, maybe a month later, I got a message from her. "I miss you." I stared at it for a long time. I didn't reply, because I finally understood something. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me who would have forgiven her, and he was gone.